besties, welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how I made these cute little button cake hearts, a little bit shabby chic sort of colours. I'd say they're giving off a little bit of shabby chic vibe. Would be lovely for like a baby shower or something like that. So we're going to show you how I made these in a minute. But first, I want to say to you, if there's any videos you would like to see on my channel, please put it in the comments. I'm always up for ideas or suggestions of things you'd like to see. Coming up with ideas for the channel is the biggest problem, especially because I don't take paid cake orders anymore. I only do this. Okay. The next thing I would ask you to do is please like and subscribe so that I can keep making more content for you guys, because that really does pay the bills for all the things that I need to make the content. And I will link everything down in the comments that I used today. Please use my links if you can. That really helps. I get a tiny commission off each little click that you do on those links and you buy something. So it all helps and I really would appreciate that. So like, subscribe and let me know what else you want to see on the channel. I'm going to get into these in just a second. Okay, so we're starting out with some melted candy melts and I'm using Colour Mill colours here. I'll list all the colours in the comments for you that I used. And then we've also got our acrylic ball tool. I'll link a very similar one for you in the comments. I can't find the one that I've got anymore. We've got our cake heart mould, of course, and some lovely little rose and button moulds. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is use a clear alcohol to wipe out our moulds. Okay, you can also use dipping solution or something like that. These are not for sale, so don't come at me for wearing rings or having nails on or my watch. Okay, these are just for my house. I don't even eat them. My partner and my kids eat them, but I don't eat them. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is melt those candy melts and then we're going to split them out a little bit to make our decorations. We're going to do those first so that we can pop them in the fridge while everything else sets. The candy melts that I'm using here, I think, are the Wilton ones, and they're quite thick. So if you find it difficult or tricky to work with the thicker consistency, you can thin it down. You can use Trex or Crisco, okay, whichever is available in your country. So UK be Trex, okay. And then I'm using the two different Colour Mill colours that we showed there to colour these. I'll link those down below for you. You can get those via my links. If you can use my links, please do. I appreciate it. Okay, and we're just mixing it up and making sure that it's thoroughly mixed. These colours are fat dispersible, so basically that means that they will work in chocolate. Okay, they bind to the fats. Normal gel colours will not work in chocolate. They will cause it to seize. So please don't use normal gel colours. And then we're popping taupe into the main body of our chocolate. Okay, I tend to keep my chocolate at a working temperature. I keep it in a metal bowl and I use a double boiler to melt it. I don't use the microwave. I find the microwave, I don't trust it. I do not trust that microwave as far as I can throw it, which realistically isn't very far, but I don't trust it. It overdoes things, or, you know, you've got to do it in such small bursts. It's actually quicker to use a double boiler. If you don't know how to use a double boiler, it is extremely simple, and there is a video on my channel of me using one that I will link down below for you. Also, it means that I've got that sort of body of water that's heated up that I pop on a little silicone mat. I'll link my silicone mats for you as well. That I pop on my surface. And I just leave it there because it's already warm, and I pop my metal bowl back on top of it and it just keeps it at working temperature. I don't bother with, I know some people use a special melter or a wax melter. I don't, I just go standard and you don't need any additional tools. These moulds are not clean. I'm not going to lie. They have got some luster dust in them from when I've used them before. We're just going to roll with it. Don't worry about it. So we're using a really small piping bag. Again, I'll link these for you. They're dead cheap and easy to just, you know, use once and toss away. Yes, that's really good for the planet, obviously. Obviously, I wash them out and I reuse them every time, obviously. But you can't really, using couplers and stuff is not really ideal with chocolate. Okay, so we've cut a really tiny hole in the bottom of this bag just so we can fit it into our mould. You could make these with fondant or modelling paste if you're more comfortable with that medium. It is quicker to do it this way. And obviously you've already got all of these tools out, but if you were more comfortable and you wanted to, you could make them a couple of days ahead with modelling paste. Okay, so we're piping into those moulds, making sure we get all the little crevices and stuff, especially in those rose moulds because they are quite fiddly and intricate. And then we're tapping the bottom of it just to release any air out of it, which is definitely going to be in there. So just giving it a tap as we go so that we can get any air out and not having any little air bubbles left at the end, okay? And you can do it in several different colours, as many colours as you want. Obviously, you don't have to go with the same colours that I've used, but obviously, often I get asked, what colours did you use? And then, as it said on screen, we're going to pop those into the fridge. So now we're bringing back our cake heart mould. And cake hearts, if you're a beginner, cake hearts are definitely the ones to start with this kind of stuff. Cakesicles, there's loads of cakesicle videos on my channel, but cakesicles are a bit more tricky. When you've got to fathom in the sticks and making sure you don't crack them as you get out. I've definitely cracked a fair few making these videos, and I always make extras with cake hearts. I don't generally make any extras than what I need with with cakesicles. I don't generally make any extras when I'm making cake hearts because I don't need to. They come out of the mould so easily. The one thing I will say about this chocolate, if you don't thin it, it does stick to the sides of the mould really, really well. A couple of others that I use are a little bit thinner and are nicer to use in terms of you don't get as many air bubbles, but it does mean that you usually have to do 2 layers on the mould when you're doing the cake hearts or the cakesicles, because it just doesn't provide a thick enough layer around the edges. Sometimes I use a paintbrush just to go along the sort of thinner areas, so the bits where it sort of meets at the top and the point at the bottom, just to make sure I'm giving it plenty of reinforcements there. It's completely up to you how you do that, and you don't have to. Obviously making sure that we're getting all of those corners, getting it up those sides. I find the acrylic ball tool the absolute best way to do this. I've seen plenty of other people do it plenty of other ways, using paintbrushes, just sort of rolling it around the mould. I like my acrylic ball tool method. And then we're using a pot of hot water with our spatula in it. You can also use a bench scraper if you want to, but that's harder to obviously heat up. You need a bigger body of water. Making sure that we wipe it first, because water and chocolate, say it with me, do not mix. And then wiping the top so that we get a nice smooth top. Now I've got some funfetti cake that I am very delicately cramming into my food processor. Okay, and then we're just going to whiz that up until it is complete breadcrumbs. You can do this by hand if you want. You can also whack it into a freestanding mixer if you've got one of those. That works best if it's warm. It becomes very crumbly if you pop it straight in the freestanding mixer when it's almost straight out of the oven sort of thing, because of the moisture from obviously being in the oven and stuff. So we're going to take our blade out and be safe and secure and make sure that we put that out the way, of course. And then we're going to pop it into a bowl. Now I've got a glove on because I don't want to get messy. And you can see this is quite a moist cake. This is scratch made cake, but you do not have to use scratch made cake. It is completely up to you. This cake doesn't really need any buttercream added to it. But if your cake is not coming together and it is crumbly, absolutely add some buttercream to it. Or ganache if you've got ganache to hand. I generally use offcuts of cake. So when you're leveling the tops of your cake, I will save those. I'll pop them in the freezer and then I'll use them for projects like this. So we're repurposing things. You can keep them in the freezer for up to 3 months. Just double wrap them. I usually double wrap them in cling film and then I pop them inside a Ziploc bag as well. Cling film for my American friends is saran wrap. Okay, and then we're just popping them into the mould, being a little bit careful not to push too hard down, because if you push too hard, you're going to crack that chocolate. We don't want to crack the chocolate. That's going to ruin our effect. So I have put gloves on both hands for this bit, just because I don't want it all up my nails and stuff like that. Okay, and we're making sure that we're leaving about 1mm from the side and from the top. And then I quite often use the heel of my hand just to sort of press it in. Okay, and you can see it's going into the mould really nicely. Again, I didn't use any buttercream in this, but usually you would find that you would use some buttercream to bring it all together. This cake just happened to be a very moist cake, and I'm so sorry to the people that don't like that word. But yes, this one did come out really nicely, so we didn't need any buttercream. But I would just go on personal preference. You don't want it to be too greasy. If you are popping a bit of buttercream in, basically you just want to put tiny bits at a time, sort of half a tablespoon at a time, just to basically bring that dough together. And it should feel a little bit like Play-Doh by the end, once you've brought that dough together. Okay, so we're just popping them all into the moulds and making sure that they're nice and full but not over full. Okay, you can use all sorts of different fillings here. You can use all sorts of different flavours of cake. You can pop a little centre of caramel in there if you want to. There's so many different options that you have here. And I'm just showing you here that you can see it's slightly down from the top so that we can get the chocolate on the back and seal it all up. And these will last ages once they're sealed up, because obviously the sugar preserves it. Okay, so we don't need to pop that in the fridge. We're just going straight in with the layer of chocolate on the top. Again, using our warm spatula that we have wiped so that it is not going to seize our chocolate. The first time you accidentally get water into your chocolate and you seize it, you are going to want to cry, because you are so mad at yourself for making such a silly mistake. And there's nothing you can really do to rescue it. I've tried. There really isn't anything. You literally have to bin it and start again. And when you've got no other candy melts in the house and you're on a time scale, etc., or you just in a workflow, it's so annoying. So really do be careful. But the warm spatula is definitely the way to go. It stops you sort of get lumps in the chocolate if you don't use a warm spatula, because it's starting to set against the coldness of the spatula. And yes, I'm calling it a spatula because that's what we call it here. I know like other places will call it other things, a scraper, or we've got to call it an angled spatula. But again, into the fridge to set. And then once they're out, they sort of take 10 to 15 minutes. You can speed it up by using the freezer if you want to, but don't forget about them because they really will sweat when they come out if you do that. We're just loosening the mould from around the edges, pushing down, pulling on it, making sure that they're not firmly stuck in there, and then literally just push them out from behind. That's all it takes. They're so easy to get out of the mold, and look at that beautiful shine on those. We really are very happy with how these are coming out, and I love the colour. It's really tempting to put loads in, especially when you first see it and you're sort of like, the colour change doesn't look that much, and then it's tempting to add a bit more, but really going with those nice soft delicate pastels really do pop, and they're really nice. Yes, pastels pop, okay? Just deal with it. We say things here. You'll get used to me. Okay, so we're popping them all out of the mould now. And if you wanted to, you could pop all of that spare chocolate that's left on the mould onto a piece of greaseproof and pop it back in the bag and reuse it. I always reuse any leftover melts, especially if I'm just using them for videos, etc. Okay, so now we're going to decorate our cake hearts. So we're going to do some with the buttons, some with the roses. And here we go. So I've got the same taupe in this bag, and I'm going to cut a teeny tiny little bit off the end, and make sure you find that little piece, because otherwise it's going to end up in things. Okay, so, and I'm just going to show you now. Look how short my nails are. I'm just going to show you how small that bag opening is. You could even go smaller if you want to. But this is the same colour that's on the melts, and I think that's a really nice sort of, to go with the two colours exactly the same. And then we're going with the roses on the end here. That one has got a flat top, but it doesn't matter because we are going to put ones on top of it anyway, so it really doesn't matter. Don't really know what actually happened to that. I can't remember. Maybe I sat on it. Okay, so there's our 3 roses. I'm just using chocolate to adhere them. Nothing special, nothing fancy. Edible glue does work, but it is not as quick setting as the chocolate. If you've got spare chocolate to hand, definitely use chocolate. Generally, I would advise using the same colour as you've got here, but if you didn't have any left, then obviously use the colour that we use in the taupe. But normally I would say match it to the little pink colour that we've got there, the little nudie pink. And that would probably be preferable, because you might see when you look from sort of the left-hand side of the screen, you would perhaps see, I'm deciding that I haven't put enough on there, you would perhaps see the colour is all. But other than that, and basically that is our little trio. And then we've got 3 left, and we're going to go in with the pinker colour here. And again, we're just doing that swish, swash, swish. And you've got to be really confident with this. You just got to go for it. You can have a little practice on a piece of greaseproof paper if you're a bit nervous about going straight in. Or if you're not sure if you've got the right size with your cut on the end. Again, practice on a little piece of greaseproof. You can reuse that chocolate. So don't worry about popping it on that greaseproof paper. You're not wasting it. Have a little practice. See if it's the right width for you. See if you're happy with how it's going to come out, and you've got the confidence to just go in there and swish, 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 swish. And it really doesn't have to be like, you don't have to have them perfectly spread apart like the the unevenness is part of the look. You know, they are homemade at the end of the day. They're not made by a machine. They are made by a person with love. So again, we're going for the same sort of look. We're doing some buttons. We're doing some of the roses, which I made in this darker colour, which I obviously did not show on the camera because, you know, I forgot to film that bit, or I forgot to save that bit and add it into the edit. So, you know, deal with it. Again, like I said before, I'm using the pinker colour, and really we should have matched the colour there. But that is my mistake, and you can learn from it. So that is as simple as it gets, and you could generally just leave with the swishers. You don't have to do the buttons and the love hearts and the roses, sorry. If you don't want to, you probably do have to do the love hearts, because that is the whole point of this entire video. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you for listening to me ramble. If you enjoyed my video, even if you didn't, I don't really care, give it a thumbs up, give me a like, give me a subscribe. Let me know in the comments what else you would like to see, because that is always very helpful for ideas. Okay, we're going to be doing a frost form video next week, and we're going to be doing some DIY wedding favours. So if you're getting married and you want to do some DIY, you absolutely can, and it's so easy, and I'm going to show you next week. So thanks for watching. Bye, love you.